Arizona basketball recruits, who they are and what their possible roles would be if they came to the University of Arizona.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. This show is brought to you by Gametime. Check it out. All right, now we're going to talk some Arizona basketball recruiting, my friends. What's going on? We're going to go down the list, tell you who's who, what's what, and if they were to come here, what exactly statistical expectations should be for those players. All right, now the first one we need to talk about is Will Riley. Will Riley is absolutely fantastic, as you know. This is very much of a sign of where Arizona is at, in that Josan Sanon leaves, and then Arizona jumps right back in with another 5-star prospect. Will Riley is that dude. Now, you watch Riley, about 6'7", 6'8", definitely a perimeter player, a pure perimeter player, but he's got a lot of skills to him, and the probably projects as a 2-year college player, which I think is absolutely perfect. That's where I'm kind of at now with players like this. 2-year guys, I think, are fantastic. He would come in, and I think he'd probably play 16 to 20 minutes per game, something like that. He would it would definitely be a 9-man rotation at that point, and then I think the doors are probably closed, barring somebody forcing their way into that rotation. The thing that I think you really like about him is that he brings shooting, he brings touch, he brings something that Arizona does not have a ton of on paper to this point. And like I said, he also provides you the potential to maybe get a second year out of him. You get a second year out of him, then you are going to be golden. But again, very, very nice prospect, Will Riley. But if Will Riley doesn't work out, another player that Arizona has squarely in its radar is Dame Sarr, international player. Now, not all international players are created equal, my friends. We need to go over that. And I think a big part of that is that, we kind of been burned in the past with your Philly Bees and, your players like that just aren't quite that good. And you know pretty much early on that they're not that good. This dude's different. This guy's on an NBA radar. He will be in the NBA in a couple of years. He's as close to a can't miss as you can get. He'd be a top 25 player, top 30 prospect in his class. Very, very good. He is the backup option for Will Riley. If Arizona doesn't get Will Riley, I expect them to be able to move on Dame Sarr. I don't know if they'll get Dame Sarr, but he was originally not supposed to go to college. But now he is looks like he is going to be going to school, and Arizona would very much like him to make a pit stop in Tucson. But those are two guys for this class that would 1,000%, I think, be that would be in the next class. Both the roles would be very similar. They'd both be 16 to 20 minutes, something like that, and depending, maybe give or take a few minutes depending on their readiness. But again, both dudes very, very good. That is how Arizona would like to end out the 2024 class. And again, that is the ultimate Arizona how they really roll type stuff, because everyone's like, you lost Josan Sanon, which we were telling you about was going to happen for the longest of times. But after you lost Josan Sanon, you were able to bring in other players as well. So that was kind of a really, really good thing for Arizona. Now, moving on to 2025, it gets very, very interesting then. You got a bunch of different guys. Tunde Yesufu. Tunde will be on campus here later this month, and he is going to be very, very he's a player that Tommy Lloyd has prioritized. Now, I don't know that I see him as an NBA player. I think he's kind of maxed out, to be honest with you, but I do not care about that. All I care about with players like this is what they are going to be able to do at the college level, and he projects as a good college player. I'm not exactly sure, what that role, what that potential, comparison is. But again, he's a dude that I think it's easy to kind of pigeonhole him in as being able to play 20 minutes right off the bat, because keep in mind, you're going to be losing KJ Lewis. You're going to be losing Caleb Love. You're going to be able to need to restock. And when you restock with somebody like that, you are in a very nice little position. But again, he's a dude that I think Arizona really wants to get. Kentucky is the other real option with him, kind of like Will Riley. Will Riley is, if he doesn't end up at Arizona, he's going to end up at Kentucky. Same thing with Same thing with Tunde Yesufu. But I think that's kind of where we're at with that. But again, Yesufu, I think will come to Arizona. But again, anytime Kentucky gets involved, you got to take that with certainly take that as something. Now, the next one then in the 2025 class to keep an eye on is Xavier Staten, my friends. Now, kid out of Las Vegas, very, very good, very sinewy. And but again, he can move up and down the court. I want one shot blocker per class. And because I think when you have a shot blocker, somebody, especially in the Big 12, I think it gives you a variety of different advantages that you don't have. If you don't have a shot blocker out there, Xavier Staten would be that dude. Plus, I think he'd be a 2-year guy. Very, very intrigued by 2-year players at this stage. And so he's somebody that Arizona is in on. They've done a very, very nice job with him. And not only have they done a very, very nice job with him, they've also done the due diligence. When Tommy Lloyd prioritizes a kid, like we've talked about, you generally know that Arizona is going to have a really, really good chance to be able to get him. Right now, it looks like it'll be UNLV in Arizona for him. But again, a player that Arizona very much likes. I think he's a 2-year player. I think he probably comes in and plays 15 to 20 minutes per game as a freshman, just kind of learning the ropes. And I think as a sophomore, he probably explodes. He's got like I said, he's got an inherent ability to be able to block shots that I don't think that a lot of coach or a lot of people really probably give him enough credit for. Big fan of his though. And I think Arizona is going to have a very good chance of getting him. That's what you got to remember though, in this 2025 class, this could be an absolutely loaded 2025 class for the University of Arizona. And I expect it to be, because again, that's kind of how the University of Arizona rolls. Very good stuff all the way around. Now, so those are some of the 2025 guys. Then another one, Braden Burries. Braden Burries is probably the best player that we're going to mention in this 2025 group. He is uber elite. He is not uber elite, but he's elite. He's a top 15 player in the entire country. He's the dude who can get downhill. Not only can he get downhill, he can get to his spot on the court. He can pull up. He can do a lot of different things. He's just, like I said, he is just a very, very talented basketball player, and his body is continuing to fill out. He is an older kid, so he probably projects as a one and done. I do not really care about that, but again, I think he would have a more immediate impact than somebody like a Xavier Staten, somebody like that. I think he'd probably be able to put up about 13, 14 per game as a freshman. And then I think he goes off to the NBA. But again, very skilled dude. And not only is he a very skilled guy, he's somebody that's very highly thought of on the circuit as well. But if you're able to get him, I think you're in a really, really good shape, because you're now looking at a 2025 class where you got a Tunde Yesufu, a Xavier Staten, and a Braden Burries. Yes, please sign me up for 2, and whoever else wants to be able to go with it. But again, that's how Tommy Lloyd is recruiting. Now, you're looking ahead to 2026. We're going to do that in just a second. But first, game time. All right, let's say that you want to go to University of Arizona basketball game this year. Keep in mind, Arizona is not like ASU. It is not an easy ticket to get. Gametime is here. They say, let us help you. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the Gametime app. You can use this for basketball tickets. You can use this for football tickets. You can use this for a smorgasbord of opportunities. But again, check it out. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Very good stuff. Terms apply. Again, check it out. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, let's talk a little bit of 2026. This is where it gets very fascinating. Obviously, and I was remiss in obviously talking about somebody like obviously a Koa Pete. With Koa Pete, he can go pretty much anywhere he wants. This is going to be an interesting recruitment. He could go to the U of A. He could go to ASU. He could go anywhere. His family has been through the process. I think he's going to be a really, really good college player. I don't necessarily see him being an awesome NBA player. I think he's going to be a good NBA player, but I don't really see him being an awesome NBA player. I think I think he's a little bit too undersized at that point. but he's going to be really good. Arizona would love to be able to get him. Obviously, that goes without saying. He has been elite. He's been in a top 5 prospect for the longest of times, and he will continue to be in that top 5, top 10 range. Then the other one, too, that you got to keep an eye on is Cam Holmes. Cam Holmes, Arizona, and everybody else in the country wants him. Deron Holmes' little brother. He is a lefty point guard, doesn't play anything like his brother at all. Again, another dude that's very, very good, has a great feel for the game, very adept finding passing lanes, very adept at being able to get guys in that right position to be able to make things happen. But it just overall, just a very, very good basketball player. And he projects as somebody that probably is going to be a lottery pick at some point. Now, he mentioned last summer that UCLA was his dream school. We need to be able to fix that, and I think that Arizona will hopefully be able to fix that. Another awesome in-state kid who is just the epitome of a really, really good basketball player. So we'll obviously keep you up to date. Now, with all those players, the ones that I think Arizona is most likely to get, I think they're most likely to get Tunde Yesufu. I do think you're going to get one of either Will Riley or Xavion Stanton. I don't know which one, but I do think you're going to get one of those two. And I do think you will probably get Will Riley or a Dame Sarr. And I do think that you're also probably going to get 2 of those 3 guys in that 2025 class, whether that is Stanton and Burries or Stanton and Yesufu. I don't know, but you're probably going to get 2 of those 3 players with 20. And, obviously with Cam Holmes, that remains to be seen. Elijah Arenas is the other one. Obviously, Gilbert Arenas' son. He's a top 5 player in the entire country. He'll be able to go anywhere. If he does go to college, I would imagine it would be Arizona. But when you're dealing with Gilbert Arenas, who really knows? I don't know, and I don't know anybody else that really knows how that recruitment's going to play out. That's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure. Now, so that's kind of where you're at, kind of with these commit likelihoods and where everything stands. Now, we're going to talk briefly about a football kit that Arizona just got. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit of Arizona football, my friends, a little bit of Arizona football. All right, Colgate safety Owen Goss is committed to the University of Arizona. He will be here. Yes, he will be here, and he is going to be a very nice player for Arizona. They're probably going to play a lot of that dollar package where you got safeties closer to the line of scrimmage. Arizona's got a ton of safeties, and you're just adding to the room now with Dalton Johnson, with Genesis Smith, with Gunnar Maldonado. You're just adding another one. Arizona's not really been able to address that linebacker spot yet, but you're probably going to have a lot of safeties that are going to be all over the field. This guy definitely projects as that. And then you got Luke Hauga. Arizona was going to bring in 2 quarterbacks this class because outside of Noah Fafita, nobody on this roster has really shown that they're capable of picking up that slack. And Luke Hauga is, I think, the guy that you're hoping for that. With Hauga, he's got a big-time arm. He's out of Higley High School in Phoenix, and he can move around. He can do a lot of things. Between him and Robert McDaniel, I think you're hoping that you can get one of those 2 dudes to be really, really good. That's what Arizona's going to do. Now, maybe Braden Dorman turns out to be really, really good, but nobody has really seen it yet. You are going to bring in 2 quarterbacks in this class, and that was just going to be the way that it is. Now, tomorrow, we're going to break down some of the class because, again, the class has been finalized, and that is a very, very good thing because there's a lot to like about it, and our guy, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, is in there as well. That is a very, very good thing. Okay, so on that note, though, very much appreciate you making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Okay, I'm your host, Mike Luke, and again, we're going to talk a ton tomorrow about the Arizona basketball. We're going to talk a ton tomorrow about Arizona basketball, Arizona football, where the recruiting class lays, and all of that kind of good stuff. But as always, like I said, appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Bear down, back the A, and thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day.